Guys, when it comes to poems, we have to make a lot of decisions. Decisions is a great word too, because decisions literally means cutting away. If you look at like the etymology, there's a lot of meanings related to cutting, because when we decide, we have to choose, right? We can't say everything. And sometimes I think what we see with writers or with poems, or not just poems, any sort of writing, what we find is that we see images that don't necessarily always feel connected, or we see descriptions that don't always feel connected to each other, which can certainly work. But what if every choice that we make with regards to the language we use is all in the interest of propelling a single narrative or a single idea forward? This gets into concepts of, making sure our word choices are all of our descriptors are all conveying a similar sort of emotion. This gets into concepts related to like extending metaphors, where like maybe if we notice that, hey, I used a simile that's related to the sea, what if I carried that through further? And this allows for deeper layers to be inserted into your poem, because this is something that a general goal of poetry is looking for, is we want as many, maybe not necessarily as many layers as possible, but we don't want to just kind of settle typically for a single layer. And so today we're going to be looking at a piece. This is a piece by Jones EV. And my apologies if I mispronounced that, but we do want to thank them for sending their piece to us. We greatly appreciate that. We're going to be looking at a piece they've sent us that is entitled Deteriorate, and we're going to see how are they able to use a consistent word choice, a consistent emotion throughout the piece, just to kind of deepen things and allow it to take a greater hold as you're reading the poem, because you can start to see the emotion carried through, maybe in ways that you expect, but maybe also in ways you don't expect. Hello, guys. This is Fine Print. This is our Sunday live stream. So we have several different live streams. On Sundays, what we do is we look at a piece that you sent to us and we just kind of analyze it. The goal is not to workshop, the goal is just to learn and see what's actually going on. To guide you in this process, there is me. Hello, my name is Jeff. It rhymes with breath, because we want to take things easy as we go through poems, but we also want to learn. So let's take a look at the piece itself. I'm going to share it here. It's a little small. Let's make it a little bigger for us. Okay. And as we go through this, again, we're here to learn together. So if you notice things that we haven't highlighted, I encourage you to put them into the chat, or if you're watching on the replay, put them into the comments, because we would love to hear what your thoughts are on the piece. This is a poem called Deteriorate. Love is a fool's gold, clean of the filth around you, gleaming in the light. Plans pushed aside for dreaming, humble concerns discarded prematurely as hopes go unchecked. We rode the great divide of falsehood to the very end. Give that up again for Jonesy for allowing us to take a look at their work. We're also joined tonight by Sierra. Great to see you as always, sis. Got to see her Friday at our open mic. If you're in the Columbus area, we have an open mic on Fridays at Third Way Cafe. We would love to see you at. But let's see what's going on in the piece. Starting with the very title. Titles are such important pieces of a work. When I meet poets that don't title their work, I'm like, oh my gosh, like why you would name your child. You would name your child. Like it's such a helpful vehicle for informing your reader about how they should enter the piece. So if there's anything I encourage you to do, please, please, please title your pieces. This poem has a title, Deteriorate. So when we think of deteriorate, let's see how is this going to inform the poem. So when you think of deteriorate, and it's cool if you pause the live stream if you want to think with me a little bit. What words and associations come to mind? So when I think of deteriorate, let's just kind of think of all the things. Like I think of like falling apart. I think of a change of state. I think also of, for instance, nostalgia, because if you notice something deteriorating, then that means that you also note that it wasn't always like this, right? I think in general, it's a word that suggests a lot of negativity. You don't usually think happy thoughts when you hear the word deteriorate, I feel. And my apologies for my horrible handwriting, as always. So these are just some of the associations I just start to immediately build with this title. Also, it's in the present, so this is something that seems to be occurring now. And in fact, maybe it's even ongoing. There's also this sense if something is deteriorating, or if it's just deteriorate, maybe we see it happening, but at the same time, we're not actually actively preparing. Okay. Which could potentially mean, that we may even be complicit. We may have some responsibility in allowing something to reach this state. Potentially. Maybe, maybe not. Okay. Sierra mentions a horrible feeling. I think that's appropriate. Thank you, Sierra. So these are just the quick associations that I have. So I think it's helpful when you read a poem looking at the title, just taking a moment to think about all the associations that the title brings to you. Okay. Let's dive back into the piece now. So, with that in mind about the negativity, let's look at all the things that would maybe suggest that that idea of negativity has some merit to it in this piece. So, love is a fool's gold. So, there's this sense of artificial, and there's also a sense of less worth, right? I don't know if I necessarily get like deteriorating from that, but I do get that sense of value. Is in you, it could be in like you're calling the person in love of. When I was looking at this piece, I was drawn to a lot of these L sounds like love, fools, gold, clean, filth, gleaming. A lot of these are, for those of you who studied pronunciation or linguistics at all, a lot of these are called what's called a dark L, which is also fitting with the dark sense. And what is a dark L? Well, compare like how you say like fools, gold, filth, versus how you might say the L sound in like love and light, where those L's tend to be a little bit firmer and stronger. Okay. Um, so I thought that's really interesting that there's a lot of these dark L sounds, but the ones that have the bright L or the true L sound, like love and light. I like how they kind of bookend that stanza. They're also the happier words, like love and light are much happier than fools, gold, clean, filth, gleaming. I thought that was some interesting acoustic things going on in the piece. But not our focus for today. Our focus, again, I'm really interested in word choices right now. So we get fool's gold, filth. Love is a fool's gold, clean of the filth around you. Okay, so we get another word that's suggesting a lot of negativity. This line here, gleaming in the light, clean of the filth around you, gleaming in the light. So there's almost kind of like an irony at play here. Love is a fool's gold. It's clean. It's gleaming. A lot of these positive traits. However, at the same time, it's fool's gold. So you get that tension between fool's gold with versus these positive attributes. So I like that sort of tension there. I don't know. Again, I still don't necessarily see if I get deteriorating from the first stanza, but I am getting some tension between like perception versus like reality. Plans push aside for dreaming. Okay, so now that I can start to see, I think this is where the deteriorating starts to come through. In terms of language choices that are furthering the negativity and the heaviness and the horrible feeling that Sierra mentioned, pushed aside. I think that's doing some work there to kind of further the word choices. Okay. I also like this contrast between plans versus dreams, because I think there is a kind of a relational aspect. It almost feels like they're different ends of the same spectrum, I think, in a lot of ways. The planning feeling a lot more concrete than the dreaming, but both of them also existing on a future that hasn't necessarily happened yet. Um, so I like that contrast. I like that, again, plans and dreaming, they're on opposite ends of the same line. I like that it's a single line. So I think it's doing some good work there. Um, what are some other word choices that are getting at this sense of deteriorating, at this sense of falling apart, at this sense of negativity, at this horrible feeling? Where else do these word choices continue? Will we see it in concerns? Okay. We see this sense of discarded, I think, is also conveying that as well. Discarded, you're throwing it away. It's, again, kind of plays with that sense of value. So losing value is something that it's not worth keeping around anymore. Prematurely, I think, is also continuing that. Prematurely, in the sense that it's not the right time. It happened before it was supposed to. Hopes is a bright word, but then the going unchecked. Again, vibes generally not positive with that. Something's going unchecked. We rode the great divide. I think divide oftentimes suggests a tension. Doesn't necessarily have to, but I think a lot of times it does. And then also falsehood. This, again, kind of harkening back to the fool's gold, the falsehood of that mentioned in the first line. Okay. What's up, too? Joshua with us. Good to see you as always, sir. Things are good for you down south. To the very end. So also just I don't think that necessarily the word choices, but the concept of this line, I think, is also leading to it. We rode the great divide to the very end. This, again, doesn't suggest, repair or fixing. It just says, hey, we're just going to kind of ride this out. We're just going to be with it till things just fall apart completely. I think that's something that also comes across with that final couplet. Okay. So these are just like some examples of things that I want you to kind of consider as you're writing your own piece. So when you have your title, when you have an idea, what is the emotion that you want to convey in your own poems? Okay, so we spent a lot of time just looking at the title, and we decided, hey, this title is suggesting a lot of negativity and negative images. How can all the word choices that I do in the poem reinforce that? And I think something you see in this poem too is even the things that sound the opposite, that sound positive. So where are the words that sound a little bit more positive? Like, for instance, love, the the gleaming, the light, even dreaming, I think, can have some positive things. Hope and great. So we have some words in here that are also, I think, pretty positive. However, we're kind of subverting them because the love is actually fool's gold. It's clean of filth, but that just makes it look pretty when it's not actually something that we want, right? The dreams sound great, but perhaps they never actually happen. The hopes, what we hope, never gets a reality check. And so they just allows to kind of go, 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 but then we never actually move closer to what to realizing them, right? The great sounds great until you realize, oh, it's the great divide. Oh, so the divide itself was great. So I think that, we're seeing a lot of subversion of concepts that at first, if you don't kind of dig into them, seem really positive, but actually there's kind of a deeper twist to it. So I think that's another way you can approach your word choices too, is how can you take terms that maybe are the opposite of what you want to express emotionally, and then how can you twist it to actually lean deeper into what you're saying. Okay. All right, so that's just kind of the little thing I wanted to highlight tonight. Take this to your pieces. Let us know, do you have a piece that you feel like has really consistent word choices and things like that? Feel free to share it. If it's published, you can post links, or you can send it to us on socials and things like that. We'd be happy to see it. Once more, guys, this is Fine Print. This is our poetry analysis show every Sunday, typically around 9 p.m. New York. We start a little bit early today because I do have to head out, but we will be back next week with some more Fine Print. If there's a poem that you have that you would like us to analyze on the stream, send it with our way because we would love to see it. Rose is making the note, not painting with a twist, but poetry with a twist. Facts. Facts, 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 facts. All right, guys. For those of you who know Matthias, I'm going to go help him out with a video project. We're doing some behind-the-scenes filming. He's preparing another short film, so I get to film him as he does his directing, things like that. I may also be playing a dead body, so that's very exciting, right? All right, with that, guys, we'll be back on Tuesday with the Versus Live. That'll be typically around 9:30, 9:45 p.m., and I will see you all later. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. This has been Fine Print. I will see you all later. You guys take care. Have a good day. Have a good night. Have a good afternoon.